Good afternoon and hello. It's a beautiful day and the birds are chirping outside. So today I want to really address what I call the connection dilemma that we face, that most introverts face. I also want to bring to the whole conversation today the talk around work from home, the great resignation. It's the buzz conversation right now. So I want to bring it along and talk about it. And I'll be talking a lot about it under the topic which we're going to be discussing today, which is the connection paradox. So if you are someone who is an introvert, this is really for you. If you're someone who is a manager that is managing teams and is trying to figure out this whole struggles that we're having at the moment with the things that are happening with work from home, then this is also for you. Or you're somebody who is really just interested, yeah, to know more about the connection paradox, then you're welcome too, yeah. So we want to discuss this, get to understand things that happen around connection. And I want to welcome you again. My name is Patience Ogunbona, and you're watching the Visionary Introverted Woman Show. I am an introvert, I'm a visionary, I'm multi-passionate, I'm a leader, and I'm an entrepreneur. And I love to have rich conversations. So I'm bringing you talks that are on topics to help you leverage introvert strengths, and I share actionable strategies for success in life, business, career, and leadership. Basically, the bottom line is my goal with having these rich conversations and bringing you talks and sometimes bringing you guests, which will come in the future, is to inspire you so that you can create impactful presence, build your confidence to position yourself in whatever marketplace you find yourself, as well as then thrive and create profit for yourself in life. So if you have a question or a topic that you think Patience would be great at covering this and looking at different perspectives, feel free to get in touch. And if you're watching this, also feel free to make comments, feel free to contribute, feel free to join the conversation. I really want to hear from you. And hi from the person watching on LinkedIn. This is coming to you live from LinkedIn as well as from Facebook. And over time, you will have this also uploaded on my YouTube channel, which I encourage you to subscribe to. So, as is usual with the Visionary Introverted Woman Show, we like to start with a story. So, I want to tell you a story. So, when I was in university, I had something that happened to me that really made me think, oh, you are different. So, my friend goes, "What's in your room?" So, I thought, that's an odd question. And I said, "Why are you asking that question?" And he said, "Well, once the lecture is over, your head is down and you're rushing. And I watched you and observed you, and I thought, she's rushing somewhere. She's always rushing somewhere. Maybe she has something that she has to do. But as it turns out, you are actually going to your room," he says. So I said, "Yeah." So he said, "What exactly is in your room that is making you do that?" And I then said to him, "I love my room." But in my mind, I was thinking, you are not in my room too. I need to get far away from people because I really need to recharge. And although I love spending a lot of time with him or having my lectures with people, I loved getting to my room. That was like my kind of me time where I can now do, I've done you, now I'll do me. Does that sound familiar to you? Well, many introverts tell me this because obviously, as you well know, I work with a lot of introverts. So basically, we want to talk on that today. How is it that I had these nice friends who wanted to spend time with me, but at the same time, I had this challenge where I really wanted to go away and be by myself. The story I'm sharing from my university days, all throughout my life, even from childhood, when I was little, it was this kind of, why do you have to be in the room? Why do you have to be away? Why aren't you dancing? Why aren't you doing this? There was all that came along. Yeah. Why do you disappear? Why do you like being on your own? I didn't have an answer, but I know it made great sense because as somebody who is passionate about people, because for those of you that know me, you also know that I'm a DISC uh, consultant as well, which means DISC is my tool. I call my stethoscope for helping to understand human behavior and to help people understand their strengths as well as where they can delegate their weaknesses. So basically, it makes great sense to me because I love people. I'm an IS, which is inspirational as well as social. So that means that I love people, but at the same time, I love my space. That's where the paradox conversation comes in. Like I said, feel free to contribute to the conversation once you're joining me, and feel free to have your own say with what I'm sharing today. So basically, a paradox really is when a person or situation or action has contradictory qualities and could seem like it makes sense and perhaps it's true. Yeah. So the perhaps is sometimes you think, is it true? Could it be true? An example would be like to make money, you have to spend money. And you're thinking, well, I just want to make money. Why do I have to spend money? But that's the truth. You cannot make money until you spend money. And if you don't have the money to spend, how are you going to make money? Isn't that like a paradox? Another one is the beginning of the end. So this is the beginning of the end. Someone says to you, but you think, okay, it's the beginning or it's the end, but it can be both, right? That is what happens with a paradox. So people say to you, I love people, but I hate networking. And you think you can't love people and hate networking. You have to be someone who appreciates both, isn't it? Which you do, which I in particular do. I like certain things and I like certain networks in the right place. But the truth about it is, you find yourself, maybe you get exhausted, maybe things don't work out for you when you're around people as you want them to work. And you find that awkwardness around people. So the truth is, there are certain different types of paradoxes, but we're not going to go into all that scientific conversations today because we want to have a more lighter conversation around this. Uh, you can say that mainly what people have is this love-hate relationship with connecting with people. But the other question to really ask is, you hear a lot about you need to connect for business. You need to connect to build a team. You need to connect. You need to connect to be a great leader. You need to connect to be a great entrepreneur. You need to connect to be a great team player. But nobody ever says, really, what is connection? And for introverts especially, it's not necessarily quantity, but quality. But guess what? For extroverts, it's actually quantity, and not all the time they not very many care about quality always. So this is a generalization because when it comes to things like introversion and extroversion, you have different spectrums, and so it's kind of difficult to just decide that you want to put people in one box and leave them there. Hi Loretta from LinkedIn, thank you for joining me. um so basically, you know that, you know definitely that this can be an issue, but it's different spectrums. Is kind of like, that is why you have to understand yourself. You have to say, on what spectrum am I? So what is connection? I'll give you my own kind of idea of what connection means. Is to plug in, to link, to associate with, and to vibe. So when you when you really think about connecting, you think about a plug that is put into energy, into electricity. So what we're really saying when we're saying we want to connect is we want to feel the energy of that other person and to connect with that energy, to plug into that energy, to link up with that energy. And we want to bring the same kind of energy to the whole interaction. That's what we're really trying to say, isn't it? When we talk about connection. Um, and some people, when you meet somebody for the first time, you can have that instant vibe, that instant link. You don't know what it is, but you kind of vibe your antenna, or you can have your antennas go up like, no, I'm not very sure of this person. But the other bit that is important for when we say you've got to learn to connect, you've got to learn to be a team player, is the part of you can actually make an effort to create a vibe and a link with others. And that is where it's said that things like communication, things like connection, they have behaviors you can learn. Some people are generally friendly. First thing, some are not. I'm very friendly. And that's because I'm a people oriented person. But then if you are task oriented, and you are introverted, that can put different layers, right? That's because there are also four different types of introverts, for example. So those four types, you have the thinking that just wants to stay in their mind and just in their head all the time. And then you have those that are anxious. They're anxious about social interactions. They get very anxious about a lot of things. And then you have those that are restrained or inhibited, what you will call shy, the typical definition of introvert that most people give. But then you have the social introvert. I fall into that category of the social introvert, and I tend to mimic I tend to mimic extroverts a lot because it's comfortable for me to be around people. But sometimes, having done that, I am disappearing for 5 days, depending on how much intensity I've put into the relationship. For example, when I finish this, I need a lot of time to recover. And a lot might be an hour. I've already had a call this morning that builds up. So it's something in my brain, something that says enough. And that is another scientific thing we can't go into today, but I will cover later on in other sessions as time goes on, as you participate, and I'll bring in guests to have this conversation. So, of the three types of introverts, obviously, the ones that would really thrive in connecting would obviously be the social introvert. Yes, there are four types, Nina. Welcome to the conversation. Nice to have you here. So basically, wherever you fall, you might find that if you're thinking, an anxious, and a restrained introvert, it will be harder for you, not impossible. Hard does not mean impossible. For the social introvert, you can have your own challenge, which is you can come on too strong, too friendly, and people withdraw. If they are an introvert, they might withdraw because they are restrained. So you have to have the temperature of how you deal with that. Introvert versus introvert doesn't mean you get along. So these are some of the things. So basically, sometimes introversion can be awkward, but you can also have, and sometimes I have that awkwardness when I get in a room and my antennas go up, and it's a place I don't like. Suddenly, I'm thinking I need to hide, I need to shrink back because the temperature and the energy I'm feeling from this room is not vibing with me. I'm not linking with it. And I suddenly want to, but that's also because as an introvert, I'm very intuitive and I pick energy signatures quickly. And I can also be sensitive as a high I. So there are so many layers that you can look at this. And suddenly, being in that environment, I become awkward. I become like, I just want to keep quiet. But there's another interesting reason why I could possibly do this. I love to observe people. I find people very interesting. That is why I'm people oriented. So if I get to a place and there's something deep and intense happening, talking is not really, I'm very talkative. I love to talk, but if you find me quiet, it's not because I don't like you. It's not because I don't like the environment, but I'm getting that need to really be present, to really take in the essence of people, to observe and enjoy people around me. That's one reason. So I don't necessarily have to disappear to want to be in the zone. But when you're around people, people think, oh, if you're quiet. So, like, that's the problem people have, many introverts have in meetings. They are not talking because they are listening intently. And their listening is to pick the things, is to pick body language, is to pick certain nuances, because a lot of times that's one great quality and one great superpower. But the way the world is wired, majority rules. Like, people want you to be really in there and really have that conversation, which you can. Like I said, it's difficult does not mean impossible. So connection can be impacted by where you are and who you are with. If you are with all, some people might think, oh, because I'm great, I want to connect with my own like-minded people. I'm going to connect with only introverts. Sometimes that might be lower the temperature, uh, and it might be cool for a while, but it might lower the temperature. It might not bring the right vibe and energy, depending on what energy you want to bring to the situation. Again, you can decide, oh, I really want an up-tempo space. I want to go for a Tony Robbins event where people are whooping and dancing and things. And after 5 minutes, you're like, I need air and I need to get out of here. So you won't find me in a rave. If you come from my parties, you will find enjoyment, but your enjoyment is going to be built around experiences, not raving. Whereas if you go to my extroverted friends' parties, you will have a rave, music, and a lot of woohoos around the place. Both parties are enjoyable. It's just for different kinds of people. You have to choose which one. So you need that balance. And again, let's talk about the whole work from home versus the whole great resignation. So during the pandemic, when permission was given to people, because again, that's another thing introverts struggle with, to give themselves permission to be. And people now felt like there was permission to disconnect, which helps to recharge and rejuvenate. And they did that. The only problem is you disconnect for a while, the doors open, and you have to go back in. Then anxiety kicks in. If you're an anxious introvert, you have more anxiety. If you are inhibited and restrained and you've lost all the inhibitions before, the pandemic just made it worse because you went back to yourself and you have to get out. So that's one of the things. The other thing about connecting that is important to mention is it's also about what is controllable and what is not controllable, right? Control is a big part of why things either work or don't work, in my view. And that's what I want to share. You hear a lot of times that people say you've got to learn to connect and collaborate with people. That's great. Those two C's are fantastic. You connect and you collaborate. And they tell you a lot of that in teams, they tell you a lot of that in business. But what I've learned is that relationships and connection, having connections and to collaborate, that's just half of the truth. There are three other C's that I feel are really important to consider. They are actually harder. So apart from collaboration, so you collaborate, which means you work jointly with people on something where both of you have a similar outcome, a similar goal that you're working with, and you probably have similar ownership. And people always confuse this with cooperation, because that's the other C that people don't get. When it comes to connecting with people, you also connect because you want to cooperate, not just collaborate. And cooperate just means that person has a skill to help you and they help you. You are not working towards the same goals necessarily. It's different goals, but they help you and you help them. So cooperation is another C that people don't talk about enough, you know. And the other one is compromise. Yeah. In most relationships where people feel connected, I've been married 25 years this year, and I can tell you a lot of compromise has happened over the years. Doesn't make me weak, which some people think. So it's about finding consensus. It's about adopting what Steve Covey would call the win-win approach to life. Yeah, where you say that I want that person to win and I want to win. Sometimes I might have to give up for a while my own desires for the next person's desires. Connection requires this. But how do you give up and still hold on to what you want? These are some of the things that you have paradoxes around. This is what we mean when we talk about paradox. So those are some of the other C's you need to consider when it comes to relationships. The last one, the next one, so I told you there are four, is the candor. Candor obviously is the art of being fair, truthful, integrous, and authentic. And according to Brene Brown, this is one of the hardest and requires vulnerability. So that's the reason why sometimes you think on social media, are we really connecting? Because are people really being themselves? Are they being integrous? Are they being truthful? Are they being, showing the true color? And can you really show your true self? That's many introverts that I talk to and walk to with. That's one of the challenges, is the fear of, if I show my true self, will people like me? I'm not a party person. I don't shout. I don't look like I'm fun. Will people still like me? My authentic self is gentle. But I've met some very gentle introverts. Of course, I know one of the introverts online who has a lot of followers and connections and is great at connecting. She's very mild mannered. She's being her authentic self. She's not gonna, but that is her style. But some are afraid, will people like that style? And this is the other thing, that because managers need to look at this. When you're a manager, when you're a leader, that's why leadership is hard. Because while people say you got to collaborate with your staff, you might need to get them to cooperate with you. Yeah. To do things that, in their opinion, they don't necessarily see how they're benefiting, but they need to do it because you need that to be submitted or something like that. So they will cooperate with you to get it over the line. But in the process, so I'll give you an example of this. When I was working in a team run by an introvert, very deep thinker, the performance measures that were set, yes, they were for us, we'll get reward, but the bigger reward goes to the leader or the team person who gets her team to deliver and get results. So our own reward was smaller, and it was up to our managers to actually agree that we made an input into that process. So here's how that cooperation was able to work brilliantly. Basically, she told us this is important, and it was important at different levels for her and for us. And in the end, we came together as a team through her strategies, through the work. And when we achieved this, she got a bigger reward for it. But guess what? The company gave us a smaller reward. She up-leveled our reward. She said, I know that you've got your reward from the company, but I want to personally say thank you. I want to personally say thank you because I got rewarded for you cooperating with me to achieve these goals. And she rewarded all of us. And that was the first time I actually got a spa voucher. I remember this because it changed my life in a certain way. It might not look groundbreaking, but she gave the women in the group a spa voucher. Prior to that point, I wasn't interested in going to a spa at all. You can't drag me out of a spa now. Sometimes when you don't know what you don't know what you're missing. So basically, she got a very high quality spa and got us vouchers. So it's not about, oh, you take £20 and whatever you can afford. No, she actually found a spa that she knew offered quality, and she got us vouchers that would allow us to have at least 2 treatments. That was really generous. But when we now went there, I in particular, when I went there, I took my husband there. I kept going back there, and I started from then to keep going to spas. So sometimes when you think about that, that is a roundabout way. That's a reverse engineered connection. So when you think about connection, it involves work. It's not just gonna happen. It involves a lot of work. It involves a lot of intentionality. It involves a lot of desire. So let's talk about them in a more structured way that you would understand. Like I said, this is for you if you're an introvert, or if you're somebody who leads and manages teams, or has hybrid people working, offsite, and you're working on site, and you're trying to get them to cooperate, because most times now is we want to collaborate, we have the same goal, but when people are not there as well, you might want them to cooperate. You might want compromises to be made at certain times. You might want that candor. All these things are important and build trust. So the first thing that I know that you need to be thinking about when it comes to building connections is what I call rapport. And with rapport, you have to establish it. And what is rapport really when it comes to connection? It is a positive relationship between two people which is characterized really by politeness, kindness, and friendliness. So some people are naturally friendly. If you're not friendly, doesn't mean you can't be kind. You can also be polite. You don't have to be off-putting. You have a way. So you have to learn these things. You might not want to be necessarily friendly, and you might not come across as friendly and gregarious like the extrovert who is loud, or the social introvert who can really be also loud and playful and fun like myself. But you can be kind and you can be polite. And an initial contact with somebody, these are things that you can apply to that building. And you can also, that rapport is the starting point, is the thing that plants the seed towards trust. And as they say, we all have to, in business or even in a team, we think that business, we can separate it from maybe being a team. You have to know, like, and trust. The foundations of society is built around relationships. So you have to know somebody, get to know them. What makes them tick? Why do they behave the way they behave? Then you either like or don't like them. But if you don't like them, you can still be friendly. So you can build rapport still. You don't have to like somebody except you live with them. Then you have to try to like them. That's a different topic entirely. You might not like everything they do, but you have to have what I call unconditional love. Yeah, unconditional love. So social introverts probably trust very quickly, and then they get hurt, and then they shrink back, because for them it's about friendliness and everybody can be friendly. But other types of introverts are like, I need to take my time and think about you because I'm restrained, or I overthink just that action you took. I'm not sure about it. But the first thing you need to do is you establish rapport. The second thing is what I call the resonance, right? And resonance for me is you appeal. Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Polite and reserved. I'm not sure who this is. Please make sure, feel free to tell me who you are. Nice to see you. I like your conversations. Thanks for joining the conversation. So basically, what I call resonance. So you establish rapport, you appeal to somebody. So to resonate is to have a particular appeal or meaning or importance for someone in a personal or emotional way. So basically, this is how you create the next step, which is the likability factor, which is the deep connection. And then you begin to resonate. You kind of resonate with people and they go, I think you see me, I think you feel me, like I think many Americans say, you feel me. Like, yeah, I feel you, I feel you, I feel you. So I don't think I got the accent right, but anyway, you get the picture. And you hear me, you empathize with me. And this can be done a lot as well through messaging, through the conversations I'm having with you, sharing stories about my life. Stories are one of the ways that we get to resonate with people, because they actually put that person you're talking to into a scenario that they can relate with. Yeah. So we want to resonate with people. And when you're talking to people about performance sometimes, and you're sitting on that high and mighty table as a leader, that person, to connect with you, to connect with what you're saying, they might want to know that you resonate with their struggle. How do you do that? You share a story. Yeah. You share a story. I wasn't born a manager from the womb. I had to develop. So what did I do? That might resonate more than reading the riot act about breaking the rules or not keeping the performance. That's something to think about. So your messaging can do this, but this also is why people say your ideals and your values are important. And that's why organizations need to work a lot about values. When I work with clients, I get them to tune into their values, because you come across and you embody your values as you relate with people. That makes you authentic. Remember, we said candor is about truthfulness and integrity. You need those as foundations to resonate with people. That's why it's important. Then we have to connect. You have to build relationships. That's the next thing. You build your relationships. How many of us can relate to the fact that building anything is hard work? I love puzzles, and puzzles can be hard for my husband. He doesn't like puzzles because he just thinks I can't see the wood from the trees. But then he comes back dinner time and he'll be like, "How on earth did you create this from this mess?" And that is what happens sometimes with relationships: is that you need to build from something. You come together and you think, "Oh, we are friendly, we are fun," and then things fall apart, like they say. And then you have to now say, we have to build that connection. So basically, relationship is the way in which two or more people or things are connected, or the state of being connected. And is the way in which two or more people in groups have regard for each other and towards each other. And this brings in the behaviors that you have. And basically, relationships, building them is the key to creating that trust. When you're interested and invested in building a relation, that's why some people are angry. You send them a message and they read it and go, "This is just a message sent to everybody. This person is not interested in building a relationship with me. Delete and unsubscribe." And that is something that, how do you build relationships so that it matters, so that you make the person, and this is very important in teams. You can't have a disconnect. You have to create relationships in a team. That's how you can get the compromise. That's how you can get the collaboration. That's how you can get the cooperation without having to cajole people, to micromanage people, to mistrust people when they are not around you. You have to build relationships. And I'm not saying that you insist on going out to dinner with everybody. If you want to do that, that doesn't work for introverts, especially introverts that know that they have to maintain boundaries to maintain their energy. You can't say, for building relationships, everybody go out to lunch together every lunchtime. That's not going to work, because in a day, an introvert needs to disappear to be by themselves so that they can recharge and recuperate. So it's not going to work. So hence why the strategy is, you can start by building one-on-one. And I can give you an example. So I had a boss that was regarded as mean and terrible, and didn't get along with people. But I got along with him. I quietly got along with him. I didn't say that publicly, because if somebody is public enemy number one, you become public enemy number two when you try to relate with them. That's a fact of life. So sometimes it's the wisdom. But I would get into his office, and when we have conversations, we found things that we resonated. He probably was an introvert. And when I talked to him about certain things, he would then say to me, so he was the one that said to me, "Patience, you are nice. And if you change being nice, you will lose your authenticity. And I see that you will in an environment like this." So I have a book that I had to read. I was really surprised at that, because I thought, people don't like you. How is nice and you in the same equation? He brought the book for me to read, and he said, "You need to read this book, written by two women, titled The Power of Nice." And I read it. And when I tried to return it to him in the end, I had spilled milk on it, and it was horrible. And I bought another copy and said, "I bought you a new copy because the old copy." He said, "Oh, you didn't even have to give it back. That's a waste to give it to somebody else." I gave it to you because it's an asset for you. I connected with them. They were able to find something about me that they could also invest in creating a relationship with me. And when I was leaving, even though I was leaving his employment, I went to his room and said, "I'm leaving." And he said to me, "I don't attend all these leave dues, but I shall attend yours." I felt special. So basically, yes, I really like this. I love my space of retreat. Yeah, I love that word retreat, right? For introverts, having that space is a retreat time. Yeah. So the power of nice, I think one of the authors is Linda LePlante or something like that. It's worth checking it out. If you're somebody who people have said, "Oh, you're too nice, people walk all over you," you probably want to read that book, because it helps you understand yourself better. So relationship needs to be built. That's why it's hard work. You come into it and you think you can just float through. It won't happen. It won't happen. The last R that I want to share with you here is reciprocity. Reciprocity. You've heard the phrase, life is give and take. You can't just take. You have to give. But you have to find where to give. You know, some people have found that in the African context is different from the English context. If you bring something and you give somebody, they're like, oh, what am I going to give you? That's the English style. It's like, oh, that's what I found is when I came here, when I invite people to parties and I invite people, for example, my children's parties, I would invite the children. But when the parents come, I'll say, you can stay, there is food for you. And they're like, what? You made food for me? No. Oh, I can't have food. It's the children's party. I'm like, no, in Africa, a party is a party. Whoever turns up has food. That's the difference. So basically, reciprocity is usually the exchange of things between two people. And life is give and take. And some people take, and never connect with giving. It never resonates with them. What can I do for you? And everybody has that thing in us that says, what's in it for me? Why should I do this for you anyway? What are you going to do for me later? It doesn't mean that that's the model with which many people relate, but in general, we are all technically selfish. We were born selfish. Generosity is actually a learned skill. I always say this, and you can give your own opinion on it, really, if you want to. So, for example, you have when children are born, the first thing they say, they would look at you and do is cry. They don't go, oh, you poor mommy, let's just have a few cuddles because you've just had a tear, you've just been bleeding, you've just been through a horrendous time of your life. No, they immediately say, where is the food? Where is the food? I need the food. I just need to eat right now. I don't care. When you think, yeah, and reciprocity, not just in that. So they are not saying I care, but that's how we are wired. So we come out like that. Where's my food? And then the first word that most children learn is the word no. And you have to teach them, no, it's great to share. You gotta learn to share. How many parents can resonate with that? You gotta learn to share. You tell them, you got to learn to say thank you when someone gives you something, because you cannot always reciprocate with equal, but that thank you is reciprocity enough, because that person might have done it just because. Thank you, Moara. Thank you for joining. So basically, yes, your thank you, your sincere gratitude for it can be more than enough for some people. So reciprocity has different definitions, and some managers don't even take the time to stop and say thank you for all these things you're doing for me. That is enough for some staff to go the extra mile. She always appreciates me for what I do. He always appreciates me for what I do. And you're not sitting on that high and mighty space being, why should I be thanking them? It's their job. They get paid for it. Trust me, there will be no connection coming out of that. Yeah. So some people, you might not increase their salary because there's no space to increase the salary. Reciprocity is saying, thank you. I see you. I hear you. I feel you. I understand your vibe. And I appreciate what you're doing. So that is important. So just some things I've shared with you. You can have a love-hate relationship with connection. And because of things that have happened, some people are shocked. Why wouldn't this person want to come back to work? Why are they insisting on working from home? I don't care. They used to cope with their childcare before. But some people are saying, I've had enough. Like I said to you, sometimes it's about control. When people are working from home, they control their environment, they control their connections. They can switch on and switch off. When they're in the live working space, they need to put in all these other efforts. But how can you create a hybrid environment where people genuinely, because they really need to work from home to balance some things out? Like I traveled on the train recently. Yeah, exactly. So when people over deliver, they deliver because you inspire them more, right? Not just they inspiring you. You inspire them. You motivate them. So they are willing to over deliver, which is a brilliant thing. I always say that if you develop leaders, you don't have to manage anybody. So if you're micromanaging, guess what? You haven't developed leaders. You are really struggling on your own. I find that even in parenting. If you are parenting an adult, you have not given them independence. You have not developed their leadership, self-leadership muscle. People used to say to me, "Oh, they brought their clothes home and I'm washing them." I'm like, clothes? I don't know what that means. But that doesn't mean I don't wash for my kids. Don't get me wrong, but it's not come back from school and bring them for me and mom's gonna wash it. No, that's not. If they're dirty and you're smelly, you smell, you need the perfume. When you're ready to keep it clean, come do it. So it's just that empowering people with leadership capability creates that uh, self-sustenance, but it actually creates connection. You get people who are willing to do things, are able to do things for you, and that can fix a lot of things. So where are you now? I guess that's the question as I come to the end of it. Where are you now? What is your challenge with connection? Whether you are an introvert, what's your challenge with connection? And if this strikes a chord, maybe you need some executive coaching to understand what your own specific challenge is when it comes to connecting with people. My big gift, obviously, is that I am an IS on the DISC scale, which means I love people and it comes naturally to me to have unconditional love. Yeah. And that means that I am able to bring that to the work I do to help people to understand how to navigate the whole connection process as well. I, particularly as an introvert, don't care about having crowds of relationships. I care about deep connections. And loyalty is very important to me. So that's one thing. So if where you are right now is you need to figure out these things alongside other things, alongside your leadership style, you can, I can help you with that. Perhaps you are managing a team and you think, oh, I need to really get this conversation to my team for us to have conversations and really understand what will help us connect better. Then I have what I call the team dynamics and communication 90-minute masterclass or taster session that is linked to my team success blueprint program. As some of you might know, I'm an executive and leadership coach. I'm also a corporate trainer, corporate and business trainer with the Maxwell leadership team. So if you feel that that is something that you want to bring to your team, feel free to connect with me and we can have a conversation. There is more to this that we can look at. Your starting point is have a conversation. Connection is very important. As is our style on this the Visionary Introverted Woman Show, we always talk about quotes. So let me share one with you that shows how important. And they say success leaves clues. So this is from somebody who is very successful in their life in general and have had things, well, not necessarily completely work out as they would want to, but in general, I connected with her online. So here it is. She says, deep human connection is the purpose and the result of a meaningful life, and it will inspire the most amazing acts of love, generosity, and humanity. And that's Melinda Gates. So, and she lives and embodies this statement that she said. And as you can tell, building a big organization with her husband, having a not too messy divorce where they're still amicably working together, it doesn't mean they want to get married together again. Human relationships are complex, but we can find happiness, we can find meaning in still feeling that we connect, we have something that resonates with all of us. So that's my show for you today. And like I said, if you're looking for this and you think, oh, I've missed it, I watched some, I want to watch some later, I would have a link later for my YouTube channel and it will be uploaded there and it will be easy to find. I encourage you to subscribe and connect with me. Connect with me if it resonates with you, and we can continue to share. The paradox of saying connection, I love people versus but I hate networking. I love people, but I get exhausted with people. Embracing that as part of how you are wired, but realizing that connection, as it says, is the result of a meaningful life, is the purpose and result of a meaningful life. You want to invest in that. Yeah. Thank you. That's great. I can see what you said there. Stella, thanks for sharing that. So feel free to integrity and loyalty, very important in building relationships. So many people want to have great friendships and relationships, but they do not know how to be a good friend. And that is so true, Stella. That is really so true. Yeah. So, but like I said, in all the conversations I've had so far, here's one thing I want you to take away. Hard does not mean impossible. It just means you have to invest time in it. And we kid ourselves when we think we can invest in work, we can invest in business, but we're not going to invest in connecting and building relationships. We need it. We need to build relationships. We need to invest in it. It is an investment that yields lots of dividends. It can take time. You have to find the right people. You will not resonate with everybody. You will not be able to connect with everybody. You've got to be willing to accept and live with that. There are those who will outrightly reject you. There are those who have biases and prejudices that they allow, because we all have these biases and prejudices, is how you allow them to control you. So if there are those being controlled by that, you might struggle to relate with them. Guess what? That's okay. That doesn't mean you don't work hard at developing the values of building strong relationships. So, like I always say, and my motto is impossible can be someone's opinion. Just feel free to disagree and carve out your own path to success. And hopefully, success involves the people that you go on the journey with. Like my mentor, John Maxwell, would say, if it's lonely at the top, it's because you went there all alone. Africans would say, no chop alone, no chop alone. So share this with your friends, and get in touch with me. Like I said, ask questions. Let's carry on the conversations beyond here. I have a YouTube channel. Feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel to never have to miss a thing. So until next time, I've been your host, Patience Ogunbona, also known as the Visionary Introverted Woman, encouraging you to do this, to bloom, to shine, and be uplifted. Take care and God bless.